Okay, hi everyone, and thanks for joining today. My name is Dima. Today I'll be talking about machine learning for product managers. A little bit about myself. At the moment, I'm working as a senior machine learning product manager at Booking.com, and I'm building a machine learning platform for hundreds of ML practitioners that affects all parts of Booking. Before that, I was co-founder at startup Fabric, and this is a personal AI wardrobe assistant. And prior to that, I worked as a data scientist and a product manager at Yandex on a big variety of different machine learning projects. We'll start with discussing what is machine learning and why is it such a big deal. Then we'll see when does it make sense to use machine learning. And finally, we'll dissect the role of machine learning product manager. So what is machine learning? Machine learning is the science of programming computers so they can learn from data to answer questions. We can simplify this definition and say that machine learning is using data to answer questions. Of course, this is not a scientific definition, but this is a useful framework for us to think about how we should approach machine learning. And probably all of you are using several machine learning products like several times a day. And to give you some examples, one of the classical examples of machine learning is classification of emails for spam. Another popular application are recommendation engines, and as an example, recommendation of movies and TV series in Netflix. This might be surprising, but prediction of delivery time in Uber Eats is also done with the help of machine learning. And one of the hottest trends in ML right now is computer vision, and as an example, Tesla Autopilot. No, machine learning has been around for quite a while, and pioneering machine learning research was done in 1950s. So why now? Why it took more than 60 years for machine learning to become one of the biggest trends in tech? There are several reasons for it. As I've said, machine learning is using data to answer questions. Data is critical for machine learning, and today we have more data than ever. On a graph, you can see the volume of data created, and according to predictions, it will continue to grow with the same rate. Also, today we have more computing power to process these huge amounts of data and to enable advanced machine learning algorithms. The algorithms themselves keep getting better and better. On a graph, you can see the amount of research being done on the topic of machine learning, and it's also growing exponentially. Not only that, but we have a big variety of open source machine learning libraries that you can use in your products. And these are the exact same libraries that are used by big tech companies like Google or Amazon. And of course, to build a machine learning product, we need more than just these libraries. And today, the landscape of ML and data tools is huge. So this sounds exciting, like every big tech company uses machine learning. So does it mean that everyone should use it? And this is a tricky question. As Arthur C. Clarke, a sci-fi writer, once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I've seen a lot of business stakeholders who do believe that machine learning is some kind of a magic wand that can solve any problem. Something like this. Unfortunately, this is not true. Machine learning is just a tool. And as with every tool, you need to know when to use it. There are several questions we need to ask ourselves when we're considering to use machine learning. The first one is complexity of the problem you're trying to solve. Machine learning approach requires a lot of resources. So if the problem you're solving is less complex, it would be much better to use simple rules or if statements. Let's say, for example, if you have an e-commerce platform and you want to launch a hot deals section, you can just select products that are currently on sale and had the most amount of orders in the last 24 hours. And it would actually work really good. The next question is scale. Again, if the problem you're trying to solve is of small scale, I wouldn't recommend you to use machine learning. For example, if our e-commerce platform launched recently and we want to assign a category for each product, in this case, we can just hire a few content managers who do this manually instead of trying to automate this process with machine learning. Interpretability is a major issue with machine learning, and especially with more advanced algorithms. ML behaves sort of like a black box, which gets an input and produces an output. And if in your product, it's critical to know the exact reason why a particular output or prediction has been made, for example, for legal reasons. In this case, again, machine learning probably would not be the best tool for you. You also need to think about if mistakes are allowed in your product. Performance of machine learning models could be really, really good. However, it would never be 100% accurate. And if you remember Skynet from the movie Terminator, this was sort of an AI that was responsible for the defense system of the United States. It actually worked really good for years. However, when it did a single mistake, a third world war has started. So yeah, probably not the best application for machine learning. And of course, the data. First of all, we need to think about privacy and security. Are your users fine with the way you're going to use their data? Are you following the local regulations? Is the data going to be stored securely? These are all of very important questions. Then we need to see if you have enough data, and what is enough would depend on your use case and what quality are you expecting from machine learning. And of course, your data should be of high quality, meaning it would be fresh, it would be relevant to the problem you're trying to solve, and it wouldn't have any kind of bugs or biases. So let's say we've checked every box and it actually makes sense for us to use machine learning in our project. So what's next? Here's the life cycle of a typical machine learning project. Everything starts with defining problem and goals. Then we'll start collecting and preparing the data, and then train a model, do an evaluation, and finally use our model in production. Now let's go through each step in more details and see what would be the role of a product manager. And as an example, let's say we want to train a model that would predict if a given image is of a cat or a dog. So everything starts with defining problem and goals. And as a product manager, it would probably be one of the most important steps for you. Everyone in the team should know what is the exact problem we're trying to solve. In our example with the detector of cat and dogs, it could be for entertainment purposes or to help users with vision problems. And this is important. The next step is to define a measurable goal. And we need a measurable goal to understand if the quality of machine learning model is good enough or we need to try some other approaches. And finally, you need to think about what kind of answers are you expecting from machine learning. In our example, there could be two options. The first one is just a binary answer, if it's a cat or a dog, or it could be a range from 0 to 1, where if the value is closer to 0, it would mean that it's probably a cat. And if the value is closer to 1, it would mean that it's probably a dog. So yeah, overall, very important step for a product manager. Now we are ready to start gathering the data. And this step is important because quality and quantity of the data that you gather will directly determine how good your performance model would be. First of all, you need to think about what data is available for you. It might be something that your company produces, or something that's available in a public domain, or something you can buy. Then, of course, questions of bias, privacy, and security. I've already talked about privacy and security, but speaking about bias, there are different kinds of biases related to machine learning. But just to give you an example, since we are training our models on pictures of cats and dogs, if we would show it a picture of a raccoon, we're not really sure how it's going to behave. So we need to be careful with this. And finally, we need to think about how to get labels. Label is a term in machine learning meaning the correct answer. And usually to train a model, we would need a lot of examples of images with correct labels. So yeah, in our example, it would be for image label of a cat or a dog. And there are different approaches to getting training set with labels. If it's a small project, you can do it yourself. If it's a bigger project, you can hire someone, or there are like special products for getting labels, or in some cases, you can try and extract labels automatically from the data. Now it's time for the next step of machine learning, data preparation. Usually the data can be used as it is for machine learning. First of all, you need to clean it. And by cleaning it, I mean removing mistakes, removing unwanted columns, and handling missing values. Yeah, and then we need to transform our data into features. And features, again, is a term of machine learning, meaning the way to represent the data that a machine learning model could understand. This step is important. However, the role of product manager wouldn't be as big as the previous steps. And finally, the most important step, the most interesting step, what I want to say is model training. And here we want to choose the right algorithm to train a model and to tune parameters. And usually people expect that PMs would be actively involved in this step. However, this is not true, and it would be probably the step that you're going to be least involved in. And you know, you can think about it in a way, if you're building a new UI feature in your product, probably you wouldn't tell your engineers what kind of programming language or technologies they should use. Here, it's the same. It would be a decision of a machine learning scientist or ML engineer how to approach this. Now we train a model and it's time for evaluation. There are two types of metrics that you can evaluate for machine learning. The first one is ML-specific metrics, and the second one is product metrics. Some of the examples of ML metrics is precision, recall, accuracy. But you need to be aware that if ML metrics are really good, it doesn't necessarily translate to some improvements in the product. So as a product manager, you would probably want to run an A/B test and calculate some important metrics like engagement, retention, and other types of metrics that may be relevant to your use case. And finally, we are ready to use our model in production. You need to think about how you're going to integrate your model into your product. You might want to use it real time to make real-time decisions, or offline. Then maybe you need some sort of an API or AI to accompany your model. The performance of machine learning models could deteriorate with time. So in some cases, it makes sense to periodically retrain your model. And of course, it's very important to monitor the performance of your model to make sure that it's working correctly, and the quality would be the same as when we've launched it. So this was only the introduction to the topic of machine learning. And I would say that this field is very exciting. And especially today, there are a lot of interesting things going on. So if that is something that was interesting for you, I would recommend the next courses for you to dive deeper into this topic. Thanks, everyone. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.